Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Sandy Bottom Homestead. I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day. It is June, and so it's another month of planting in the garden. Yes, we plant all season long, and this will be the last month before we starting seeds for fall. So yes, that is coming as well. So what I want to do is take you around the garden, show you just the places that we are going to be planting and exchanging things, and anything that's going to be changing in the garden in the month of June. So you can see the garden's growing well, and I'm going to start with a little bit of planting, believe it or not. We've got some rain coming in again, so we're going to take advantage of it, and we're going to plant on this trellis right here. So as you saw in the last video, these peas are almost done, and we're going to be pulling them out. So I'm going to be putting black-eyed peas in. So I'm not going to pull these peas out yet. I'm just going to let them sit, and then I'm just going to snip them off at the ground. They have a beneficial, they add nitrogen back into the garden via nodules on their roots. So I want to leave the roots in the garden, and I'm going to utilize them for shade that they're going to give, just to get these beans a little bit of start, a little bit of protection before they get off and running. And then we can kind of go from there. This section of the trellis is a little bit more shady, so it's a little bit of a crapshoot if these plants in particular will do, but we're going to keep trying no matter what until we get it. And also, I'm going to do this side at the same time. I would like to do the other side I just did a little bit earlier to give them time to get up, but kind of run out of time here. And these are really good. I usually start harvesting these. I plant them around now. Oh, and I'm in coastal North Carolina, by the way. So there's that. And then I will start harvesting them around August all the way up until October. We usually let them just dry on the plant and then pull them, and we'll just get loads and loads of them. Usually 1 4-foot row will give us about 1 pound to 2 pounds of beans. So if we double up or triple up even, then we should be able to go magnitude higher than that. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is we are going to, I said this in the last video and I'll say it again, I had to get a squash beetle off. I'm going to plant another bed of squash in effort to keep it going. And we're gonna come over here and pull these peas up very soon, and we're gonna put our Boston pickling cucumbers on this trellis. So these will be done, we'll feed these to the chickens. These will be Boston pickling cucumbers, and these over here are the other cucumbers. The name is evading me right now, but these are the ones that we have in our online seed store. If you wanna check that out, it helps support the Backyard Gardens podcast. I believe they're straight 8 cucumbers, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll get these, and so we'll have this as the first harvest, and then essentially what we're hoping is this will be the backup in case something happens. And then we'll come over, these are our green beans and they're doing good. We are going to plant our bush beans. So we have a garden bed over here that needs to be harvested. We're gonna need to get our garlic out of here very soon. And so once the garlic comes out, what we're gonna do is we're going to totally clean out this garden, rebury the lines, pre-planting fertilizer, and then we're probably more than likely gonna put watermelon in here, and then we're gonna put bush beans in here as well. And so the bush beans will probably be in the back, and then there'd be a watermelon here, and a watermelon here, more than likely. And then those will just be allowed to grow freely out into the yard as they want, so they have all the space they need. We have this garden bed over here that is empty from our weird potato harvest we got. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna plant our popcorn. Now, there is a chance that we may swap those 2 beds. I haven't totally decided yet. I'm just kind of giving it some time. I've got to fix one of the lines here. Look, something got in there and dug last night too. One of the lines came loose at the fitting, so I just need to fix that, but then we can replant all of this, and this is a clean slate. So it's either gonna be popcorn or what's in the other, what we were gonna put in the other bed. The reason why we're gonna switch maybe don't know yet, that's okay, is because this bed's completely ready and empty, and the longer we wait, the more until the weeds set in. We have this bed over here that is popcorn, or not popcorn, it's sweet corn. So I'm like walking through the maze to get you there. So we had a little bit of an issue when we planted. We had a raccoon get in, and I swear he ate some of the corn. So we've got a fair number of skips. So I actually replanted it 2 days ago. And I can't put them at the same, I can't plant two types of corn at the same time. I had somebody comment, and I do appreciate the comment where it was like, don't plant them, you know, you don't want them to cross-pollinate. And typically what happens when you cross-pollinate is the fruit will be okay, but the seed won't be. Well, it's not that way with corn. So if they cross-pollinate, we'll get weird different corns. And if I was growing two types of sweet corn, to be totally honest, I could care less, but popcorn and sweet corn are like two totally different corn. So I would be pissed if all of my corn were all mixed up and I didn't know which was which. So we're gonna let that one go and give it about a week after the germination. I'm out of seeds for it now. I've used all of them. So whatever comes up is whatever's in there. And then a week later, we're gonna plant. So that's why we may end up switching those two. And this bed right here will be a very good candidate for that delayed planting, because otherwise you have to do like 250 feet apart to eliminate that. But with my bees and stuff like that, it could be way more than that. So we're just gonna have to play it safe and just delay. But it just depends on when I get out here to do the other one. Now, once we harvest this bed, so this is the potatoes. Once we harvest this bed, then we'll come in and we're gonna plant buckwheat in here and let that cover crop just kind of cook for about 6 to 8 weeks until we come back and we plant our Brussels sprouts. Even though I said we're not starting any seeds until after June, this may be the last week in June where we actually start our Brussels sprout seeds. I'm not totally decided on that either, so we'll see what happens there. But we're gonna put that in, and then that'll fill up this entire garden here. Everything will be filled in June, and then we can just hopefully grow it out. I'm imagining that my squash bed will have to come out in June at some point. It's just gonna, you know, it's gonna run its course, and that's okay. We'll have to figure out what we want to put in there, and it may be another good candidate for more buckwheat. I'm wanting to do the buckwheat for natural green manure in the garden, also to help the bees out and to kind of keep that soil active in the off season, which is not the off season really, but for me, that bed will be in the off season. Should be harvesting these carrots soon as well. And then we're either gonna put, depending on when they come up, is very dependent on what goes in there. It may be my son wants to do watermelons, or we may do another bed of buckwheat and just let it go for the rest of the season. Not totally sure how that's gonna work out, but that's really gonna keep us going into the right direction. In the month of June, we will start harvesting our peppers, our tomatoes, our garlic will be harvested, our onions will be done drying, and then we'll start curing our potatoes. And then that will kind of round out everything that we're harvesting and enjoying from our garden. And it's time to get into the other aspects of what we're gonna be doing. So this is the month when the heat really starts to kick in. So we're gonna be doing a lot of mulching at this point. Everything that doesn't have mulch in the garden will get some mulch. So our sweet potatoes, we will mulch those because we won't be watering them as heavy, so they will get mulched. Our tomatoes will get mulched. Our corn will probably mulch in between the rows if we can, just get something into the ground to help protect it. We'll mulch around our watermelons and stuff like that to keep that soil a little bit cooler, to hold the moisture in longer. So we'll be doing a lot of that. But before we do that, before we put our mulch down, it's time to do another feeding. So we're gonna be putting a well-balanced fertilizer in across the board. Everything is gonna get our well-balanced fertilizer. And what does well-balanced mean? That's either like where the three numbers are very similar. So it doesn't have to be like a 10-10-10. It could be a 8-9-9 or 8-9-8, or, you know, just something very similar. So we're gonna be doing a lot of that. Every bed will get some type of fertilizer. We're also going to be injecting fertilizer at that point. I haven't done as much fertilizing injecting because we've had a raccoon visiting us, and I've been keeping him out of the garden. And if I can get just another week without him really getting into it, then we can push the fertilizer to it and hopefully keep him out of it. But I don't think the smell, he'll be able to resist it. So we're gonna work with that. But once we do that, then we also need to add nitrogen to some of the crops, not all of them. And so let me take you, I'll show you what we're gonna be adding the nitrogen to. In the month of June, let's just say that this is gonna be the popcorn. This will get nitrogen added to it. Corn is very nitrogen hungry, and also the other bed is going to get some form of nitrogen to it. The only reason why I may withhold a little bit is because of these Seminole pumpkins over here. They do not really like a lot of nitrogen, but I think they could use a little boost because we need to get them going up that trellis before this corn shades it out. So it's gonna be a race against time for it, but we're gonna get it. And then if we do plant another bed of squash, which I know I didn't say that, man, I don't know, these carrots are holding up the game big time. But if we get another round of squash in, maybe we'll put it in this bed. This is me formulating my plan on the fly. Then we will put nitrogen in there just to give them a boost to get started. This isn't a very nitrogen hungry time of year. There's not a lot of plants that need a lot of nitrogen to produce. They need it, but you got to be careful about adding too much. So we always put it in at the beginning to get things up and going, but then we kind of taper off. Well, we don't taper, we just stop giving it the extra nitrogen. And that keeps things from getting too many leaves and not enough fruits. But at the same time, because we plant almost year round here, we have to be prepared to plant in the fall. And so the plants that come in the fall typically need a lot more nitrogen. So we're just gonna be kind of timing that out, and I'll bring all this to you when it's time, but we're gonna be working on that. Question to you is, how much are you planting, not how much, but what are you planting in June in your garden? Do you have open spaces? If so, what are you gonna put in those open spaces? Or are you gonna leave something blank? Let us know, because there's all kinds of people that need, they need ideas and they wanna know what other people are doing. And I think this is a great way for us to share. But for our garden, this is how we're gonna handle it for June, and hopefully, if everything goes right, by July, this garden will be totally full for the first time in a while. It's very minimal when the garden is completely full here because we have everything on a cycle. So hopefully it'll get that way, but it's gonna be a hot summer, and it's probably gonna be a little bit dry summer, and it's gonna be a wild hurricane season, so we'll see what comes out of it.